So we are talking about the glossopharyngeal nerve. The again how to describe the functional components of a cranial nerve. Write the functional component: nuclei, intraneural course, appearance on brainstem, intracranial core, exit from the brainstem, extracranial course, branches, and applied anatomy. So these are the functional components of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Special visceral efferent, general visceral efferent, special visceral afferent, general visceral afferent. So one way it is very easy to remember. Special visceral efferent, that is for that component is there for the muscles of the pharyngeal arch. So muscle of the third pharyngeal arch is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. General visceral efferent from the inferior salivatory nucleus. So this is for the parasympathetic outflow, and this is for supplying the parotid gland. General visceral afferent, this is for the special visceral afferent is for the taste sensation, and it is from the posterior 1/3 of the tongue and the circumvallate papillae. And general visceral afferent is for the general sensations from the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, sensations from the carotid body and the carotid sinus. Some also write general somatic afferent as the proprioception of the stylopharyngeus muscle under glossopharyngeus. So glossopharyngeus functional components are very easy to remember: 2 special and 2 general. Okay, 2 special visceral afferent and efferent, 2 general visceral afferent and efferent. One special efferent supplies the muscle of the third arch, one special afferent supplies the posterior 1/3 of tongue, one general efferent supplies the parotid gland, and another general afferent is for general sensations from the tongue, pharynx, carotid body. So here you can see the various nuclei which are contributing to the glossopharyngeal nerve, and we can see here these various nuclei. One is the nucleus of tractus solitorius, which is for the taste sensation, dorsal nucleus of the vagus, then the inferior salivatory nucleus, and nucleus ambiguus. So nucleus ambiguus will be giving fibers for the special visceral efferent component. Inferior salivatory nucleus for the parotid gland for the general visceral efferent component. Dorsal nucleus of vagus is for the general visceral afferent component, more of that. And the nucleus of tractus solitorius is for the taste and again for the general visceral afferent component. So this is the diagram to show the intraneural course. So it will be passing laterally. It will be passing laterally to the inferior olivary nucleus and medial to the cerebral peduncle and come out through the posterolateral fissure. So hypoglossal nerve was from anterolateral fissure. This is from the posterolateral fissure. So from the posterolateral fissure, you can see the nerve number 9, 10, and 11 come out. On the brainstem, it is attached to the posterolateral sulcus of the brain, okay, by 3 to 4 filaments. These filaments unites, they move laterally towards the jugular foramen. Jugular foramen is from where the internal jugular vein exits, and that's the same point from where the glossopharyngeal nerve also comes out. So exit from the skull is from the middle part of the jugular foramen. So here you can see the diagram of the jugular foramen, where posteriorly there is internal jugular vein and anteriorly there is inferior petrosal sinus, and in between are 9, 10, and 11th cranial nerves. This is to show that after coming out, what is the extracranial course? It passes between internal carotid and internal carotid and external carotid. Then you can see it passing between the superior constrictor and the middle constrictor muscle of the pharynx. You can here see stylopharyngeus and cranial nerve number 6. So basically, glossopharyngeal nerve has a tendency to pass in between. Then you see it in the submandibular region, passing deep to the hyoglossus muscle. Hypoglossal nerve passes superior. This passes deep to the hyoglossus. So hypoglossal and glossopharyngeal are always taught together because they have a connection. Hypoglossal passes the internal and external carotid on the lateral aspect, while glossopharyngeal passes in between them. It also passes in between the superior and middle constrictor muscle of the pharynx, and then it passes by hypoglossal nerve passes superficial to the hyoglossus muscle. Glossopharyngeal passes deep to it. Okay, it passes deep. So extracranial course, it lies in the carotid sheath along with the internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and vagus, and passes between the internal and external carotid artery. Then passes between superior and inferior constrictor muscle of pharynx and enters submandibular region deep to the hyoglossus muscle. So these are the diagrams to show it. It gives 6 branches. One is tympanic branch. This tympanic branch supplies fibers to a tympanic tube. It also gives a lesser petrosal nerve to the otic ganglion. And then from where the postganglionic fibers go and supply the parotid gland via auriculotemporal nerve. It gives a carotid nerve to the carotid sinus and body. Carries sensory fibers from these structures. Pharyngeal branch for forming pharyngeal plexus, a nerve to stylopharyngeus. Tonsillar branch for tonsil, which also supplies palate, and lingual branch for the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and also to the circumvallate papillae, which are lying just anterior to it, near the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, rather on the posterior most part of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. It carries taste and general sensation lingual. So 6 branches: tympanic, carotid, pharyngeal, stylopharyngeus, nerve to stylopharyngeus, and tonsillar and lingual branch. So here you can see the branches. It has a superior ganglion, inferior ganglion. Goes and this tympanic branch forms tympanic plexus. From there, the lesser petrosal nerve, and then to the otic ganglion, and from there auriculotemporal nerve to the parotid gland. So parotid gland, then this is the carotid branch, then there is a pharyngeal branch, a tonsillar branch. Here you can see a muscular branch, tonsillar branch, and lingual branch. So terminal branches are tonsillar branch and lingual branch. Before that are pharyngeal branch and nerve to stylopharyngeus. And first branch is tympanic branch and carotid branch. So tympanic branch, carotid branch, stylopharyngeal branch, pharyngeal branch, tonsillar branch, lingual branch. So many surgical and medico-legal processes are there. If not done properly, they can cause glossopharyngeal damage during tonsillectomy, during sleep apnea surgery, skull base surgery, carotid end arterectomy. Amongst those serious consequences caused by the glossopharyngeal nerve are loss of carotid sinus reflex. This leads to diminished blood flow and impaired brain function, dysphagia, problem in swallowing, dysphonia, then loss of gag reflex, that's the main thing, loss of taste on the posterior 1/3 of tongue, reduced salivation. Salivation doesn't become zero, and glossopharyngeal neuralgia. So this neuralgia is pain due to the nerve damage. Okay, there is pain in the throat and base of the tongue, triggered by swallowing, chewing, coughing, yawning, and it's very sharp pain, may impact the tonsil and lower jaws. Okay. So mainly the lesion of the glossopharyngeal nerve will produce a loss of gag reflex, okay, due to interruption of the afferent limb of the gag reflex, which is formed by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Loss of the general sensation in pharynx, tonsils, posterior 1/3 of tongue. Loss of taste sensation from posterior 1/3 of tongue, and hypersensitive carotid sinus syndrome, which causes syncope.